Wonderful. Excellent. Hello, hello. Welcome everybody to Logistics and Tech Summit. You're joining us for the Field Service Case Study session. I'm Gaurav Deshpande. I'm Vice President of Marketing for Logistics and Tech Summit and Hypertrack. And it's wonderful for me to be here with all of you. We had nearly 500 people join us live during the kickoff session. Many of you stayed with us. Thank you for staying with us. Some of you are joining us here by Zoom, and many of you are joining us here at the feed loop. Welcome. It's my pleasure to introduce to you today's featured speaker for Field Service Case Study. His name is Shravan Kamdar. He's the Director of Product Management from W Engineering Software. Take it away, Shravan. The stage is all yours, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us here at Logistics and Tech Summit.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for the invite. Hey everyone, so I'm Shravan Kamdar, Director of Product at W. I'll be going over our presentation today on productivity and for field service and last mile. So just a quick background on who we are. Let me go to the next screen here. So W Energy, what do? We cover the entire energy value chain from upstream, midstream, downstream, all the way through to measurement and accounting and everything in between. We also service renewables customers as well, although that's a smaller part of our business. What we'll be talking about today is primarily the upstream part with maybe some application to midstream as well. So as far as product lines, we do ERPs for upstream and midstream. We have some transportation management. Some of you may have known some of the folks as just a few months ago, we were Seven Lakes Technologies, and we merged or got acquired by W Energy. The combination of the companies, W Energy had a strong back office accounting and ERP component. Us at Seven Lakes had a strong field technology component with the last mile delivery. So, that helped the overall company become more end-to-end from back office to front office to field. So again, what we'll be talking about today is primarily the field service management side, and then the last mile delivery and how Hypertrack location services plays into that for our customers. Okay, so who we win for, like I said, front office, back office, and field. So we've got different parts of our platform called JOYN that services executives, accountants, all the way down to field technicians, vendors, truck drivers, lease operators, dispatchers, everybody in the field. And we strive to keep everything self-service for our end users so that, the time to value is completely minimized across the organization. So, that time to value and that last mile delivery, especially when you get to the nodes of an organization, that's how I look at last mile delivery. I'm not necessarily always looking at it as, last mile delivery in the traditional sense in terms of, the guy dropping off the package at my doorstep, whether it's UPS or Amazon. But as companies, last mile delivery is also about the back office being able to send the right information at the right time in the right place to the right person in the field when they need it. And then the reciprocation of that information or the action on that information coming back to the back office or the control room or wherever it might need to go in a timely manner, again, in the right context, right? So that's the way I'm talking about last mile delivery here today. So when we think about the energy business, and we think about, okay, as a business, what's not in my control? Okay, I can't control commodity prices. I can't control labor fluctuations. I can't really control regulations outside maybe some lobbying practices. So what options do I have? Well, I can hedge, I can manage my CapEx, my OpEx in terms of vendors and suppliers. I can manage my tech in terms of how I consolidate it. And then I can look at, do I have the right labor for what I need to do, and is that optimized? And then what activities should I focus on to support that strategy? So obviously in the energy business, primarily in oil and gas, production, 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 that's the name of the game. And to support that, we have a lot of I would say what I call the non-core functions that are kind of your license to operate the business, right? Your finance, your trading, your accounting, your legal. And then the core items that support the production, the actual hard trades in the field, drilling, completions, compliance, maintenance, logistics, the actual ability to support getting the oil and gas out of the ground, physically speaking. So those are kind of your activities that you're trying to get at. So that's, I call that more the core competence versus the supporting competencies. Then when we look under all of those activities, who are the people that we need to empower to do all of these tasks, right? Do they have the right tools to do the above activities? Do they have what they need? Again, like I said earlier, what they need, when they need it, where they need it, in the right format and context. So what's my last mile delivery strategy? So we started with strategy, we got into, tactics and activities and all that, and then humans, and then again, we're back at strategy in terms of how do we empower those humans to do what they need to do. And what we've seen, especially in the oil field, is a lot of the support work is digital and digitized and whatnot. But when we get into the core competencies from production and everything that supports production physically in the field, there's a lot of non-digital manual processes. And even for the nodes of the organization in the field, to talk to their supervisors as well as the back office personnel, even those processes are very manual. So now you've got your core competencies, which are non-digital and not, part of the modern world, whereas your support organization is part of that world. So you can see how it becomes very difficult to manage your business in the field in the face of what's not in your control that keeps changing. So if we take a deeper look at what's going on in the mind of one of those people in the field, right? What's that cognitive load look like? Let's say we have one guy and we have 4 people asking him to do something, and they're asking him to do 2 tasks each. And all of these requests are coming through the mobile phone, the laptop. They might be coming through emails, through text messages, through Teams messages, or through some other piece of software. Now that same person in the field is turning around and writing down, the answers in a notebook, or typing it into the text, or putting it in some software on the laptop, or putting down a sticky note on the dashboard of his Ford F-150. And a lot of that stuff then has to eventually make its way into custom Excel systems like SAP, Infor, Oracle, some form-based software, whether you use Zoho or Pronto, other miscellaneous softwares, and again, Teams and emails. So now all of this is before he ever picks up a wrench to do what he's actually paid to do. So, when you look at this and you do the math around it, he's subconsciously going through 6,144 cognitive decision points, or things to think about, right? Which can be huge. And that's, again, above and beyond anything he has to do with a wrench. So at W, with the JOYN platform, how do we try to reduce that cognitive load? So let's say we have those same 8 tasks coming from 4 different places. In this case, I use 3 humans and a SCADA system. And maybe that goes through a prioritization algorithm, whether it's the JOYN platform's prioritization or a manual prioritization by a human. And everything's delivered on a single app, on a single phone interface. The person turns around and makes any updates and resolves and comments that he needs to put in also inside JOYN on a single app. And then the JOYN cloud does the job of talking to other systems and updating whatever needs to be updated. Right, so when we do the math on this, the cognitive load still ends up being 32, which, when I did the math on this, I thought even 32 is a lot for your brain to think about, but it's still a 99% reduction from what the state of the field in most places currently is. So this is the goal of what we're trying to do with JOYN, is get you from the thousands of cognitive nodes down to, hopefully double digits. And then, then the person has more time to think about, okay, what do I need to turn the wrench on, and actually go and do that, rather than burden himself with the administrative work of getting the data back to the engineers and to the control room and to the dispatchers. Okay, so before I get to the demos, I'm just going to talk about some use cases of how we go about solving for this in the field. And I'm going to talk about a couple day in the life of scenarios. So in this first scenario, what a typical use case that we've seen in the oil field is you've got Manny, the operator, here on the lower right. You have Dave from dispatch in the control room. You have Ingrid, the engineer, who's supporting the field. And then you have Project Pete and Project Paul, who are planning all the maintenance in the field. And what Manny does is he's going about his day and he's noting everything down on his yellow notebook or sticky pad. And then later in the day, he opens up his, big old Panasonic Tough Book and types everything in, whether it's the H2S readings he collected, changing the pump rate on this well. And at that point, maybe somewhere through the day, a compressor goes down, and it's a critical task. That compressor knocks out the entire northwest corner of this screen, those 5 wells, and maybe that's 1,000 barrels a day of impact to the bottom line. And now Manny has to rush over there. Meanwhile, what's happening is, dispatch Dave sees that the compressor's gone down, but he doesn't know much more. He's trying to radio Manny to see, what's going on. Manny's radioing back some stuff. Dave really needs the information put into SAP PM so that Ingrid and Pete and Paul can start working on a fix for the compressor. But, to put it into SAP, his Panasonic Tough Book doesn't have VPN. The VPN's not working out in the field. So he has to drive across the field to a doghouse, get on a landline connection, open up the computer, log in, find SAP, log into that, find the right screens, type in everything, and then drive all the way back to do his chemical check. So by that time, he's lost about 2.5 hours before dispatch Dave can see everything, Ingrid can get everything she needs, and Pete and Paul can get everything they need to start working on the maintenance job. Manny continues on the chemical check, but by this time, maybe his day's over. And he was supposed to get to a lockout tagout on this tank battery here, where we were going to change a level gauge. But the vendor crew's been waiting around for 3 hours, and now they're being sent home. And that's going to come out of Pete and Paul's budget for maintenance, even though nothing got done, because Manny was late to do that lockout tagout for the vendors to start working on that tank battery. What else is he going to be late on? Well, he's going to be late to this month-end audio-visual inspection at another location, which means, maybe Chris from compliance is going to have to deal with the regulatory authorities at the end of the month about an overdue inspection that we didn't get to in time. Another thing might not get to today is he has to change the set point on this artificial lift because Ingrid, the engineer, wants to see if we can defer less production. That well is off its forecasts by 15%. So, we want to make sure we minimize those losses and get back up to target, but that also gets delayed. So we're losing more money. And finally, he won't be able to get to this well test today, which means Anne from accounting is going to come in the next morning and start calling Dave or Manny about why the well test is not done and why her wells are not allocating for accounting properly. Okay, so you can see about the cascading effect of what happens, when you're using multiple systems, multiple devices, not the ability not to work offline, all of that. So with JOYN, the same situation where he does his H2S levels inside JOYN, they sync up to whatever system they need to sync up to. He changes the pump rate, that syncs up. He does the chemical check since he's a little earlier on it today. And then when the compressor goes down, he gets a push notification saying the compressor's gone down. But so do 3 other people on his team. Let's call them Joe, Jim, and Jack over here. And Dave's able to see that Joe, Jim, and Jack have the notification. He's able to see Manny has the notification. Ingrid, Pete, and Paul are able to look on the JOYN portal and see that, okay, compressor's gone down. We'll be able to see all the information coming in. Even though we might need it on SAP, we'll be able to see everything live as it comes in from JOYN. So Manny's going to see this is kind of like getting an Uber sent out to 4 drivers, right? It's going to be first come, first serve. Manny's going to go ahead and hit the accept button. Once he does, his 3 buddies get a notification saying, hey, Manny's got this. You guys are good to go. And Dave, Pete, Paul, and Ingrid all can see that Manny's got this. Manny's going to go ahead and update all the information in JOYN, and everybody gets to see that. And that also helps Dave because he can report upline to the executives who are asking about why, when we're going to get 1,000 barrels back online. Since he didn't have to waste 2.5 hours going to the doghouse, he'll be on time for the lockout tagout that we talked about. That keeps the maintenance budget on track for Pete and Paul. He gets to the AVO on time, so that keeps Chris from compliance happy. He is able to change the set point, which means we're not deferring production anymore, so that keeps Ingrid happy. And he's also able to get to the well test in time, so that keeps Ann from accounting happy, so that the wells are allocating properly the next morning. In addition to all that, since Manny's using JOYN, he'll also be able to see some of his other metrics like casing pressure, tubing pressure trends, and whatnot. All right, so that's a typical day in the life of use case for an operator. I'm going to go through a couple more, and then we'll jump into a quick demo. Just do a quick time check. All right, I'm going to rush through these. So this is a dispatching use case where you have dispatch Dave here in the bottom corner, and a vendor, so a third-party vendor who sends trucks to Dave to pick up water out of his tanks and transfer them to a third-party SWD battery. So Dave can request the tasks, or somebody in the field can request the truckloads. Dave can assign it to a vendor. The vendor then assigns it to a truck driver. The truck driver comes in. The truck driver is also using JOYN. They have a secure view into the company's JOYN portal where they can see only their tasks. They pick up the truck full of water and drop it off at the SWD. All right, and the next use case has multiple parties. Again, you have dispatch Dave, you have Randy, the rig supervisor. He's doing a drilling job. He calls for a request to haul waste away from the site on the JOYN mobile app. Randy sees that. Randy assigns it to a waste hauling vendor who has multiple trucks. A truck is sent over to Randy's site. Once he puts in the request, the truck driver also fills out his part of the waste manifest. Then he drops it off at the waste disposal facility where Wayne is going to be looking at it. And Wayne fills out the third part of the manifest. So there's a EPA regulation on getting manifest electronic. So you can see all of these parties are working together. They all use JOYN. And that eliminates all of the carbon copies and paper that are needed for this whole process for 3 different parties and 5 different users to work out a waste manifest together. All right, so what's the typical setup look like? We have our JOYN administrative portal, our mobile app. We use the Hypertrack SDK across all of these to get the location services in, as everybody's driving around to see where they are. And then we have our own APIs to bring in and send out third-party data to third parties or bring it in from third parties. But Hypertrack sits in our mobile app as well as our cloud, helping us get all the location data for all of these activities in the field. Right now, we do use the location dashboard from Hypertrack, which looks like this. I'll talk about how we're going to be upgrading that experience for our customers. Here's an example of some location analytics that customers have done, where you can see the amount of time they're inside a geofence doing work versus the amount of time they're driving around. Here's some more advanced location analytics where you can see where they're spending time inside a geofence. If you click on the geofence, then you also get the details of what they were doing inside that geofence, whether they were testing an engine or doing some maintenance or whatnot. And then here's some more types of analytics where people are analyzing the types of tasks that they're doing throughout the day. And then you can also overlay, what locations are these at by using some of the Hypertrack geofencing. All right, so I'm gonna get to a quick demo. Now we're nearing the end of the half hour. So basically I'll show a dispatcher dispatching a task to a field tech, the field tech accepting the task, and then the dispatcher reviewing that task. And I think there's some questions coming in, but I'll wait for just until we're done with this demo here. All right. Do you guys, Gaurav, can you guys see a screen and a mobile app side by side, a browser screen?
Yes, I do. Shrivan, we're good.
All right, so here's an example. I'll just do a quick one where we have an AVO inspection that maybe we need to do for Chris from compliance, like we talked about. I'm logged in here as myself on the mobile app, so there's me. And I'm going to go ahead and assign this. Obviously, there's many ways to dispatch tasks. We have a smart engine that detects who can do the tasks. You can do it manually, like what I'm doing now. You can set it up to automatically assign to certain people. But for now, I'm just showing something fairly simple. So assigned it, you can see the mobile app has the task here. I will go in, I will accept the task. And once it's accepted, it'll move from not ready to open, and you'll see a little green check mark here on the task, like we have on the mobile. So there you go, it's open and ready to work on. I'm going to go ahead inside and start filling these out, saying the vent seals are okay. There's no corrosion on the roof. The vents are in good condition. I don't hear, see, or smell any leaks. And I'm going to skip the rest of the form in the interest of time. And I'll add my e-signature. I'll go ahead and do that. I can also add a picture. Let's say this was a picture of the equipment that I inspected. In this case, I'm just using a coaster. Done. And then I can just say resolved. And once that's resolved, it will resolve right here for the foreman, the lead, the dispatcher, the back office, the control room, whoever it is. There it is, resolved. And once I go into the details, you can see, what work I did on it. So you can see the comments that I've put on it. I can download the image. So there's the image that I just took. And here's the form that I just filled out, the parts that I left blank, and my signature. You can also see a full audit trail of everything that's happened on the task. And then finally, you can see how good I am, because this task is in West Texas, but I'm sitting on the beach in California. And we're using the Hypertrack information to show where I was when I actually resolved the task. It's grabbing the lat longs. So either I'm really good that I can finish a task in Texas sitting in California, or I'm about to get fired because I got caught taking a vacation when I should have been at work. All right, so that's the end of the demo. If there's any Q&A, we can do that. Otherwise, I'll hand it back to Gaurav.
Thanks a lot, Shrivan. I have a question here.
Yep.
Can you thank you for sharing that. Question here from the Feed Loop audience. Can you describe the business value in terms of streamlining oil and gas workers, operations and productivity with logistics tech that you have deployed? If you can talk a little bit more about and summarize the business value there.
Yeah, I think as far as it's on a use case by use case basis. So a lot of it's the time savings that comes from utilizing your workforce as it stands today, right? So there's so many inefficiencies in the different activities, the thousands of activities that you're doing in the field. Some of them I talked about was vendors waiting around for a lease operator. Well, ideally, if you knew that those vendors were there, you knew there was a nearby job that they could have worked on by simply looking at a map or something like that. You could have rejigged your work for the day and not have 3 hours of lost time on a single job, right? And if that crew costs a couple $1,000s an hour, then for 3 hours, that's $6,000 potentially saved. Now you multiply that by how many times that happens in a day, by how many times that happens in the field across all of your operations, the numbers can add up pretty fast. And then there's the whole doing more with less, where back in the day, oil and gas was more about drilling and finding more oil. Now it's about efficiently producing what you can get out of the ground at a low cost, which means you can't just throw people and money at the problem. You have to have the same people, and the old folks are retiring. So these are new people who don't have the tribal knowledge. So how do you digitize that knowledge, and how do you use technology to bridge that gap? So it's about getting more energy out of the ground for the same amount of cost that you have. So that the value kind of plays that way in terms of making things more efficient, in terms of your return on technology, your resources, your SG&A, whatever it is.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Shrivan. And if to quote my daughter, who is 18-year-old, every time she looks at a job, first question is, or looks at anything, she's like, is there an app for that? Can I load it up on my mobile? And that's what W Energy is, right? It's the field service. It contains, among other things, the field service apps for the oil and gas workers, so they can be more productive and efficient. Thanks a lot for joining us, Steven. It was an amazing session. I learned a lot. We have over 150 people here between Feed Loop and Zoom who want to thank you for your time. And if you guys have more questions, please send them to me, Gaurav, Gaurav at hypertrack.com, and I'll be sure to connect you up with Shrivan Kamdar from W Energy. Thanks a lot. With that, now we are switching over to the Field Service Roundtable with W Energy, with Apify and Groundworks. So see you guys online there on Feed Loop. Join us there, please. And please join Shrivan's colleague there, Hari Dutt from W Energy, along with leaders from Apify and Groundworks for that fun conversation on field service productivity. Thank you and bye.